Alright, so let's take a look at the theme submissions for the character design concepts. And I wanted to talk really quickly, guide you guys. I hope everybody who's trying it is here today. Please, please listen to me when I tell you this. Don't post sketches one by one. A lot of you are joining this contest. And not challenge, not contest. And a lot of you are showing your rough drafts. And if you guys post one by one for all of your 5 characters, this whole community will become flooded. We've hit 2,100 members, so we have to stay cautious. We have to follow the rules. Um, so please, pay attention to that rule, please. Second, when you're doing these sketches, please remember that these cannot be your final lines. I don't have time to read this, but I'm not sure if this is a rough draft. If it is a rough draft, good. If it's not a rough draft, if you're submitting it, this is not good. Count your lines as if you have very little lines left. I've made a whole, like a rant about this the other day. So really just make sure that you're not overusing your lines. So these little thingies on the back of his head, right, on this little headdress he's got behind him, you could have just used 2 lines only per feather, per little spike. But you use like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not called line efficiency. You need to take it down. Every single one of these bandage lines needs to be 1 line only. Only 1 line. You can't have 2 per. The shoulder blades, why are her shoulder edge, why are her shoulders, using more than 1 line? What is so significant about the shoulders? They require more than 1 line to express that texture. That edge texture, there is no edge texture for skin. It's just one consistent organ. There's no texture that is so apparent and outward like scales or spikes or something like that that needs to be shown like that from the edges. Skin is too soft. So anywhere where it's not fabric, you can get away with fabric when having that much edge texture. But because the surface texture of fabric is just really gritty sometimes and broken up. But skin, you need to just use only 1 line to express that texture. The edges of your lines, the edges that you're drawing, how many lines you use on the edges express the texture of that edge. Write that back to me. Alright, so please use as little lines as possible. I like the rough work under this. I'm not sure about these poses. I really like this pose, this pose. I'm not sure about this pin-up pose. Like the personality. I mean, I guess, yeah, you can invest a sexy personality. But a lot of you are having really similar density body structure silhouettes. They're different sizes, but they look like the same body type. I want you to explore different body types. So body type, body type, body type, body type, body type, they're all the same body types. So I'm telling you guys this before the due date, which is next week, next week, Thursday. I'm telling you guys this now. So please explore different body densities. Try a fatter body. Try a really slim, lanky body. When we imagine you're going to have to animate these, and the animation has to read, and the motion has to read, the motion has to be large. So, giving us these wide varieties of body types. All of these submissions, all these body types are similar. You only have this one guy here that you made large. So if you're going for JKL, which is the brawler, if you're going for brawler, choose one body type for the brawler and have different variations of that body type. Don't choose a different body type each time. You have to have one of these characters, you just have to have one of them be chubby. One of them is, in the description is described, one is, dragging his feet at the back of the company. So, one of these guys is a fatty who doesn't like cardio. I really like the body varieties here. Oh, I love this. I love this. I love these clean lines. Yes! Yes! This is beautiful. Oh, it reminds me of card captors. Be careful though. But still, the lines are too light. Try to darken them. Duplicate the layer a little bit. The eyes shouldn't be that much darker. The background is nice color. But if this is what your final images look like, dude, you're going places. I hope you're pushing to this each time. Really, really, I'm going to look at it again. Really good line efficiency. I love it. Okay. Nice body type changes. The sorcerer should seem a little bit more scrawny, shorter, less athletic. If the sorcerer looks athletic at that point, it's not it's against the point. The sorcerer is one of those characters that that trails along in the back, not as slow as the brawler or someone else who's a fatty like a Gimli character, but just someone who's a little bit skinnier than him and more lazy, like a Mary or a Pippin or a Sam, you know. But Sam was just the best. Anyways, the swordsman should look athletic. The archer should look athletic. If the archer is responsible for the bow that they're going to be using, then the upper body should be represented as heavier at the top because the bone structure and the muscle structure that developed to accommodate for this constant need to cast an arrow at such high speed. So this is where we would displace the weight at the top. For a swordsman, arms are probably should have to be really strong as well as trapezius muscles to carry and do that upward motion for this with the sword and that downward motion. The shaman, really, really good gesture for the shaman. The bruiser should look just fat all around. Should just look big all around, chunky, big, heavyweight, kind of, like heavy lifting. If if there was a rock, he'd be able to lift the rock off them if something happened with a rock. I don't know. So please remember, explore different body types, and that's why I'm saying try to draw these silhouettes first. The silhouettes will really help you. All the same body type. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? Yeah. Please make sure that you're cleaning up your lines. All right. So what's everybody saying? Please don't make me animate them. I will not make you animate them. Ista, how to do go from sketch to line art without losing line weight? Keep your line thick. Celtic. Some of you, listen, all right? Imagine I'm just holding you all very intimately, all right? I'm going to just like hush my voice just a little. Okay. Some of you start with a really thin line. Okay, I'm just going to start to whisper a little. And you guys want a thicker line. But you don't want to know what you do in order to make that line thick. You guys use the line over and over and over and chicken scratch and repeat and use it. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I like it because it's high weight. There's so much line weight to this. It looks so good when I do this. It looks so sketchy. I'm probably going to work for Disney. It's not like that. If you want a thick line weight, you start thick. You never use a thin line. So this line right here, because you use such a thin line, there's absolutely no line weight here. The only line is the weight is in the volume right here, right, like just here, 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 here. These are all nice volumes. So volume and empty space, relief, detail, relief, detail, relief is really beautiful. But when you combine that with a nice heavy line, which is why I told you, duplicate this layer. Make these lines shine thicker, because a line that's too thin has no weight to it. It cannot be animated. It looks really weird. It's like you want lines, but you also don't want them to keep them really thin. You want meaty lines. Yes. Oh my god, no, it's not ASMR. I wasn't ASMRing, alright? I was just speaking gently so you guys can just, not forget. Okay? Sometimes sex appeal works. Okay. So please try different body weights, different varieties of body weights. Experiment with some silhouettes. Keep your line thick and use less lines. All right? All right. So someone repeat those two facts to me, please. If you guys are critiquing each other in the community, please tell each other this. Tell each other that you need these rules. You need to follow these rules for the community. Please use the thicker line. It doesn't have to be super thick. It just can't be so thin that you're not getting the read you want. So you compensate by overdrawing the line, which is really unnecessary. Okay, so let's go into this. So much stuff today. It's so much variety. I don't think there's going to be any common theme. But I have to choose one that'll just kind of collectively influence the entire critique hour today. Okay. Okay, so much variety. I don't know where to start. Okay, so when it comes to cast shadows, this is just a quick rule. It's a rule. It's not optional. Please remember that if this light source cast this shadow and this shadow, and the shadow, and the shadow, and the shadow. It means it's all the same light source. It's coming from the same destination. This light source, if it was right beside the window, so if it was an alien invasion, we would have the vanishing point a lot closer. So this means that, oh damn, I gotta do this. Alright. So I'm going to increase the size of the canvas. This is so that I could find my vanishing points. And, fuck. Alright. I'm going to increase the size of the canvas so we can find our vanishing points. Okay. And, about. If this light source was a flying saucer and it was coming to abduct you, that means that over here is where the light would be. So this light is the vanishing point for these cast shadows. So we get like shit like that, or if it was down here, we'd use this vanishing point to find the edges of everything. So that's when we have this, what's the word? When something like opens up like an umbrella, like when something opens, it expands. This expanding, kind of like a projection from like one point and it goes out. This fuck, what's that word? But anyways, that's what that's what happens when a light source is nearby. The vanishing point, the influence of the vanishing point becomes very, very obvious, very, very apparent. So the cast shadow for this whole window goes up here. So that's when we have asymmetrical cast shadows. In your version, not only were your cast shadows just a little bit asymmetrical, they were very asymmetrical actually. They had different intensity levels. So if we have the same light source coming in, and it's all being cast by the same light source, all the shadows are being cast by the same light source, and this light source is so far away that all the cast shadows seem like they're parallel. So at one point you get so far away from the light, you're not close enough to see this radiation. Yeah, radiation. God, like you think I didn't know that word. But yeah, this radiation of lines. Let's say you're in the sun, and the sun has all of these radiations. It's a vanishing point. And you have this object. For this object, it's close enough that the sun's radiation points are visible. That there's a difference at each point. At every 1 kilometer distance, there is a higher distance between every kilometer here. There's a higher distance here. You're close enough to see the radiation. If you're so far away from the sun and you're minuscule, at one point or another, all of the lines are so close together, it feels like they're all parallel, even though they're not. But to you, because you're so far away, all these lines seem parallel. So this seems parallel with that, right? If you're close enough, all these lines feel like they're parallel. So just in this small window. So you treat them as parallel. The sunlight, universal light, you treat it as parallel. If this little house here was the inside, and this was the inside of that little house, all these lines are parallel. So not only do your vanishing points have to be parallel, but because it's the same light source, I hate this line, by the way. This line is killing me. It's giving me cancer. Not only do they have to be parallel, but they have to be of the same intensity. So if this object is dense as this wall, that means it's casting a very similar shadow. So give me a second. So that's it's gonna be like straight. So a lot of you don't know that all you gotta do is really just combine this. What the fuck? Oh, okay. Combine that with that. That gets combined with that. And you don't have to. Oops. You don't have to give a new shadow that overlaps. There's no overlapping happening. And this area here, again, only if the light source was nearby. This area here also has to be parallel with the other ones. The light source, this is the same ray from the same sun outside. Unless it was a flying saucer. So you can go ahead and say I'm wrong and then say, oh yeah, I was going for that flying saucer deal. And I was going for that. But in order to get an accurate light source in your entire setup, it has to be, they all have to be parallel. As for this side of the wall, I know it's under the light, but it's not going to get as light as this side. So if of these two sides, this one, and this one, which one is the most exposed to the light source? This one. So there's no way you can share the value word with this. This is darker, but it's not as dark as this part here, which isn't under the light. Right, so it's about mathematics really at the end of the day. And then again, is this part here as exposed to the light source? The hell did I just draw? Okay. Is this part here as exposed as this part? Is this part as exposed as this part? No, then it goes down. And then slowly this starts to make sense. So the reason why this could be a little bit more, the only thing that could happen is these start to blur at similar intervals. So this blurs here. All of it blurs at the same time. And as it blurs, it gets lighter because it's getting further away from the light source, or further away from the object casting it. So we have to show a variation. This whole part could be just illuminated because of the bounce light coming off of the floor. This whole upper ceiling area can get illuminated because this area is bouncing back up. Light doesn't just land on its surface and just stay there and linger there. It gets reflected back. It even gets reflected back in like suede and matte surfaces, just not efficiently. Sometimes it gets lost in there in the fibers. Okay? So these are some really, really basic rules that you guys can't forget. And when you do studies like this is why we do studies like this. For the sake of experiencing these rules before we have to experience them in a masterpiece that we will be untrained for. Unless you're intending this shelf to be slanted, make it parallel perfectly and centered between these two. So just make a straight line, make an X, find the middle, make it perpendicular with this line and perpendicular with this line at different sections, and then you'll find the perfect shelf size, or perfect shelf tilt. It feels like this shelf is on its own vanishing point. Right, some really, really basic rules. So what did I say about cast shadows? What's the biggest rule we learned today about cast shadows? Is your YouTube profile picture an auto portrait? No, I look nothing like that. That's strange. For my volume. What is my volume low? No, it should be fine. Istebrak. So, can anyone describe the physical rule we just experienced? No, I look nothing like that picture, but I've shown my face a couple of times. Yeah, before Ista was right in the ear. Right in the ear. Who says that? She was right in the ear. It shouldn't be distant. It's right here. It's right beside my mouth. I'm not sure why it's low. It shouldn't be low. This is all max volume. Blah, 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 blah. Like, should I be up here? Maybe I'm just a little quiet today. Light from far has different behavior from near light. In what way? In what way? That's what you remember. This is where it counts. This is where taking notes counts. In what way is it different? In what way does it vary? That's not going to help you just saying that it's different. How? Straight lines give us to cancer? What? No, using lines instead of edges gives me cancer. You guys paying attention? Shadows get blurry far from the edge that creates it. Remember where your light source is in order to find the angle of shadows and values. If the light source is far away, like the sun rays, and therefore the cast shadows appear parallel. Thank you. Someone is talking about perspective. So yeah, I'm talking about perspective. The angles of the cast shadows, there's a perspective in how parallel should cast shadows be to each other. They can't all have their own angle. They come from a source. That source is their vanishing point. So treat the sun as the vanishing point for the cast shadows. Everybody write that back to me. All 85 of you. The farther away from the light source, the cast shadows are parallel, but if the light source is really close, the radiation of the light is more apparent. Yes, so the angles radiate. They are not parallel. They are the opposite of that. If there is a flying saucer outside the window. Yes, good. Good, Felipe. Okay, so let's go on to something else that's completely different because we're just all over the place today. So, if you have notes and categories and you're super organized, just get everything. I'll get all your notebooks out. It's not just about form today. Okay, actually, it's always about form. Um, so these are some gesture lines that this person has brought together to experiment with some female silhouettes. Wait a second. I think I made it darken. Yeah, you're supposed to be using not F. Anyways, so you are experimenting with female silhouettes for the character design challenge. So, treat the sun as the vanishing point for cast shadows. Yes. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Um, okay, so when it comes to this stage, this is a very early stage in figure drawing. It is the earliest stage. It is when we have nothing but shapes. So, of course, it is one of the earliest stages, so we need a gesture line. So when we want to create like a really, I don't know, cool looking gesture, what we do is we start with the gesture line. So the gesture line helps us remember where the bends are. We can throw as many gesture lines as we need to guide us through. So one gesture line for the spine, one gesture line for the actual bend of the body, and then on top of that we start dressing the body up with form. So we start, bringing in the form. What else is going to bring in form? A line isn't going to bring in the form. And when we do that, we have this breathing room. So one of my techniques, before I do the final stage of perfect lines and I count my lines and I make sure everything's perfect, is after I do the gesture lines, if you guys have watched me draw, if I really want to try some experimental stuff, like let's say I want to draw some crazy, like, heavy duty, like brawler type of guy, I will use like real shapes, real shapes like that. And then I'm probably going to give him, decide where his beard is going to go. And I don't know what he's doing. Maybe he's like crossing his hands. And then I decide where his legs are going to go. Like, I will actually put anatomy on these weird ass shapes because it reads. It's nice. It's got like this animation world behind it. And I can decide where the breathing room is going to be, where his chest plate is going to be, if he's going to have any armor. His neck is not visible because his head is so low. And then I'm going to just decide where his nose is going to be. And he's just like all angry. And he's like, rrr, rrr, rrr. So the point is that when you know the difference between male and female, what you can do to really make your gesture pop, especially if you're expected to have so much variety, for Little Miss Istebrak, in the silhouettes, I'm expecting a lot of variety, to be honest. I don't want to see the same character, same model in different costumes like it's Forever 21 fashion show. I want to see different body types. In order to do that for females and males is to know that females have a heavier weight distribution at the bottom than males. So we typically do something like that. When we do stuff like that, throw the head on top, have some nice gesture lines, we get this really, really nice looking silhouette that reads from a distance, and the character design just benefits from it. So we have this super female looking Tinkerbell looking thing, and then the hands just can do whatever they want. But the point is that these shapes, these initial shapes, are where we decide what happens with the gesture line. You don't wait till later, and you don't try to do it all in the same blanket. You take it piece by piece. So you fragment the pieces and experiment with the weight distribution early on. So if it's a super masculine looking guy, I'm going to throw all the weight up here and I'm going to shrink his legs intentionally. So if you guys want something more realistic, of course you have to take this in a way less intense degree. But look at Superman's body, look at Batman's body. They all have this super heavy top, really, really small bottom, and then look at other females. They have this whole thing going on. Even in the most basic cartooning principles, they have this for females. They have this super tight waist. So this silhouette is where it matters. So this plus amazing gesture lines will give you these wonderful looking figures, wonderful looking motions that read. that you really need in order to pull off interesting character design. This is all prop work. So this is one of the methods I use. I can go like crazy. I can just do some crazy ass shapes. Like sometimes I'll just close my eyes. I throw some really basic gesture lines down. I close my eyes and draw some crazy shapes and see what comes up out of that. So suddenly I feel like I've, made like this wing shit. So I just close my eyes and now I have this super cool gesture. This guy is ready to fly. And he's like, "Arr!" And he's ready to fly and he's like charging up and he's got his wings ready. And now I have this really super cool silhouette that reads in this very, very basic elementary level. Okay? So that's my suggestion for you. None of these seem to have any interesting silhouette happening in them. They seem to have this consistent size throughout. All these lines seem to be the same size except when you get to the feet. Okay? Even female bodies that are purely realistic, sometimes they go like, when we get these super big calves and that's like the butt, that's the stomach, and then we have another increase in size. So these sizes, these lengths change. So this is the waist, this is the butt, these are the calves, this is the feet, and then we have this cool shape happening for the female character. So when you learn the basics, you can break them. Not every female has to have a small waist. If you're doing a brawler female, which you guys have to, you have to give her a big heavy weight on the top. She looks like she's a weightlifter, smaller breasts, or maybe even bigger breasts. I don't know, make her even look even more gigantic. But remember that you have to be doing this, not later on when you add, big heavy armor on the same body type over and over again. We're adding the armor after we've already decided the body composition. For this piece here, I think the problem is essentially that you have this sudden yellowness in the background, and it's also happening over here. We have like this yellowness coming in. I don't know what you guys are doing when you guys bring in this yellow color. You probably think it's the wash, but it seems like you guys are treating it like it's a light source color. Also, this background is pure white. This is very, very problematic. So, between this one and this one, I see very, very similar color issues. Shadows on the face that are too dark, and this forcing this orangeness, this warmth into the colors. So I'm going to try to darken this. This is the lightest I ever go with. This is amazing, by the way. I really recommend this this change in the background color. This white was intense. It was really just causing a lot of issues. So when we get rid of that, I need that lasso back actually. Select inverse, hide. Then we can correct some of these colors. When we unify, or like when she's wearing a green dress and there's yellow splotches, it feels like there's a fog that's yellow around them, like there's some sort of gas around them. If you use this wash, if you overuse this, the wash is supposed to be undetected. So leave her dress the color it's supposed to be, because now you have this icky color that's everywhere, that's not making any one color act as itself. Suddenly we have all these strange colors combining together, like she's got this weird fabric that makes her dress change colors in different lights. Like, unless that's what you were going for. But this orangeness everywhere is not letting us see that you have issues with the skin tone as well. So this is an oversaturation problem. So just take a look at what happened just from balancing out the color of her dress. Her skin really made sense. Her skin popped. I might just desaturate that. I think she was wearing like a gray dress. Also, the saturation in her dress, the darkness and the values, again, made it seem like this dress gets dark around here. So one of the biggest issues that you have here, this color is everywhere. This orange. You don't need it. It's like the skin tones are glowing. You just simply don't need it. You've got this like goldness to it. Like if they were in a room full of gold, like that's different, and the light source was just bouncing everywhere. You have to make it look like some of that gold hit them. I'll show you what this color correction did. It's going to make the fox pop. I don't know what colors she's wearing for her. This is what happens when students don't know what to color with, when they don't know what to do with their colors. They kind of just make everything melt together. Like all the colors have no borders for them. So once we do this, we notice that the skin tones have been way too saturated. His skin tone is actually orange. And the reason why you didn't notice that before is because your background was so light. In order to get a read against all that immense white, you had to oversaturate and overcontrast over here. And everything shot up into the lights. So I'm going to try to bring a yellow in, as his skin tone is, but also desaturate it and take it back to that flesh tone color instead of that orangey bad tan color. Okay. So I'm taking that color down. And when it comes to the whites of the eyes, do not let them be yellow. Make them white just like you did over here. And once we take all this saturation down, we realize, the colors, the shadows you've been using have been really, really intense. Even if there's blush, you can always add the blush in later. You can tell that this saturation, this excess saturation you were doing, was making up for how dark the skin was. So you were getting muddy colors, and the one way to fix muddy colors without fixing your values is to oversaturate. So just this gold everywhere that wasn't doing anything for the character designs. And then you have this gray over here. So I'm going to try to use this exact same shade to bring down the excess saturation over here. I can just use the Control U to desaturate, but this work is so delicate and so finished. I don't feel like it'd be a good idea for me to do that. So I'm just going to erase away my correction only where I know I need some reds. So on the nose, on the eyes. And then for blonde hair is actually super gray. It's not like orange. If you do it any orange, it'll look like strawberry blonde, which is more of a red. And then brown hair is actually pretty gray as well. So desaturating opens up doors for detail, opens up doors for contrast, and correcting the contrast and getting appropriate values. So we need some cheek reds over here. Just the values are way too dark. Alright, so merge that down, and then, what did I want to do just now? I totally forgot what I wanted to do. That's so weird. Oh, right, the values. Right? Is that what I wanted to do? I don't know. Wow, I'm just completely forgetting what I'm doing. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is get a lighten layer. What you don't want to do ever for baby faces, like that one Liam Neeson baby that we covered one time, is over detail the sides of the nose. If you throw too much detail on the side of the nose, you will draw a Liam Neeson nose on a baby face. Okay, so stay away from these excessive shadows. You don't need them. Especially for this cartoony style. You've made the face all dark and ominous. And not just that, you've kind of just tossed the whole face into this really muddy value. Over here as well, you've made him, you've used an age signature just around his eye. You only need so much for us to read that his anguish. His face is actually pretty good compared to hers. But, before, after, it's just excessive dependency on over outlining without the use of a line, sneakily adding in shadows around every major structure instead of actually going in there, getting a skin tone, and sculpting the nose, just like that. So that's something we avoid because we don't do enough form studies. So I'm going to get a light source color that's yellowish. I'm going to make it more yellow, but has a lot of white in it, and that's what I'm going to use on the skin. Because that white is still around, it's still in there from the light source. Yes, the light source is yellowish, but it's also, I don't think the light source is the same for either character either, by the way. If the light source is coming this way, then this nose cast shadow will be going that way, but there's only so much I can fix in an hour. But as long as you know that, then you can try fixing it on your own time. Okay. Alright, so that same white I'm going to use over here on the knees. So we've gotten rid of that excess saturation. We've removed that outline, line dependent way you've overstructured the nose, the sides of the nose and stuff like that. And now what we're doing is bringing in an accurate light source color that isn't too saturated to express the shine of the skin and the characteristics of the skin. I'm just, in fact, going to use the exact color behind them because that's their environment color. For the hair, I think you need a little bit more shine. And I think you have different textures all around. So you've used a different brush for the hair here as you did here, as you did here. They look like different characters from different environments each time. So now that we've brought the contrast back to normal, what I'm going to do is start adding some highlights in. So some of the most important stuff is in the eyes. Treat this eye as a sphere, so I'm going to make that curved. So we need those spikes to show where the moisture is in the eyes. I also want to desaturate them completely. The whites should just be white. They shouldn't be yellow white. We want to get rid of that gold, you know, that kind of excessive warm fog you have everywhere. Okay, so that shine is really good. And then you have some lines left over here. So what I'm going to do again is I'm just going to use that color dodge on that same white and use it on his skin over here to whiten his lips. Okay. Just to use a little bit of that white on the sides of her face, which are just a little bit too dark. There's so much dark around her face. It was like there was a candle nearby and she was intentionally mysterious, but it never matched the pose ever and the personality you're showing us. So we really need to raise these values up and correct that light source angle, which is coming from a really different angle. So just these corrections have just changed the way the light source, the light environment is behaving. Especially these shines in the eyes, they really brought the eyes out. I'm going to try to get rid of some of these lines. I don't think I'll be able to in the time we have. Oops. Oops. Damn it, what did I do? Okay. Okay, I can do this, I can fix it. Painting, alright. No, 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 no. Oh no, fuck. Essentials. What did I do? Come on, come on. Yes. No, no. Oh my god, fuck you, Photoshop. And then you go over here. Okay, okay, we're good. So Control C, and then we go over here. And then we go back this way. Okay, so let's see what happened with the colors. There's just like this darkness of, there's like yellow darkness, like we were looking at them through a yellow screen. And now all the colors just get to be themselves in their own little departments. I would even gray out her hair even more just to make it even less vibrant because that skin tone that you chose is just so peachy. You know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to tilt it over to the yellows. To the reds. So this is where it was before. I'm going to make it like -3. Just completely moving away from those yellows. And then we can saturate and see what colors we really have over here. I think that the temperature of the colors is just a little bit off because they're going in this really, really orangey red direction. And skin tone is actually pretty pink. So what I'm going to do is actually duplicate this layer, make this one pink, and then erase away what I wanted warm. because that hair looked like it was the same shade. And then I'll lower the opacity of the skin tones. It looked like it was the same shade as the skin, like there was just a, that was it, you used the same exact color, which you should never do. What we're trying to do here is cancel out that excessive yellow. Skin isn't yellowy gold. It's pink, it's green, it's purple, it's yellow, it's orange, it's peachy. It's got so much happening in it. And if you start at a really low value for the skin, let's see where your values were real quick. If you start at a low value for the skin, you had this value all the way down here, man. Over here, over here, over here. And your background was here? It's like the worst thing. You have so much contrast happening with the skin. It wasn't behaving as skin anymore. It was like she got paint and painted on either side of her face. And we just want to do that. She kind of looks nervous now that we kind of unveiled her face from the shadow. So that concern in her eyebrows, I think, is what I think you need to have an even larger shadow on the sides of her cheeks. Yeah, she looks concerned, so I probably shouldn't depend on the lip to take care of it. The lip is only part of the expression. What I would do is that because this eyebrow is already so high, this one, I'm going to keep this one down. Just so it doesn't look concerned. And then this one here is like, yeah, I'm happy, I'm good. I'm good, we're going on an adventure. I don't know why the guy beside me is so scared, but I'm in control. Before she was like, what? Like, what is that? Unless she was doing that, you know? I don't know the story. Unless she was like, are you serious? You know? Like, did we just really find you here? And we've been looking for you everywhere? Kind of like that, I don't know. And he's probably like, oh shit, you know? And she hasn't noticed yet. And then for the fox looks like it's a painterly fox out of a storybook that is completely unrelated to this whole setup. The hair also had, if you're going to use this texture for hair, she doesn't have a different species of hair. She has the same hair he does, it's just different color. They're the same, they're humans. So make the same brush you use, the same over here, because you want that unison. Yeah, they're using that. If you're going to draw fur, and you're going to use one texture for fur, if you're going to draw fur again, use the same texture, use the same brush, use the same everything. It's still the same texture. Okay, and then all in all, I think I would just desaturate. Because when I desaturate, that's really when it's just gonna read as a nice storybook skin, like skin tones. But when I go to 0 and then desaturate, I think the skin is just gonna be allowed to just be, you know, skin. It doesn't have to be too saturated. Skin without all of that business under it would actually be pretty white, yellow white. It's a really, really see-through color. Have you ever bitten your skin on your fingernails and just looked at it? It's this plain-ass color, and you think, how did this color ever become red? It's only because of the blood under it. Layers of this color, layers and layers of this color have led to it looking a little peachy, but it starts off as a pretty yellow color. And this is before. You have that, like, eerie Scooby-Doo and a creepy forest. And I guess it matches him, but it doesn't really match her. And if this is a character, like, lineup, you need those skin tones back. And now if you brought back that super white skin, that super white background, it would still work. Because what happened is we balanced the colors. The colors are no longer dependent on the background. So you can do this if you wanted. The colors would still look great. Alright? You can saturate her dress. You can saturate her hair. Just don't move the skin with it because the skin will look like that. Really muddy. So if you wanted this look, if you wanted that balanced color look, saturate selectively. Balance your colors. Know what color you're actually needing for the skin tone. Know the value that sits under it. So I covered this last class. Don't try to paint skin if you don't have enough grayscale studies behind you. If you're having trouble making the skin look nice and it's still looking muddy, grayscale the values and just see see if you can fix the values before trying to depend on oversaturation. You oversaturated, and then you threw this film, this yellow film over everything, like the sepia. And for a character design artist to send this off to a modeler, and then the modeler sends it off to, like, I don't know who else is after that, and they work together to choose the exact colors, the palette they're going to keep reusing in the animation process of this character design. What color are they going to use for her dress? Green and yellow? What color would this dress be if you were to give this color a dress? All I can see is mud. But here, green. Dark, weird green. And it's nice because it matches her personality. It's weird. Alright, skin tone is skin tone. It's not specific to character unless the character is a ghoul or a zombie. Then you have to change the skin tone from a normal value to something creepy. But this, if you wanted to paint a zombie, you know where to go. Go to these values right here. And you had no whites on the eyes to represent where the light source is coming from. To complement the light environment around them, this super light environment, where is the light in her eyes to reinforce that light environment? The skin tone of the hair was exactly the same as the skin tone. I mean, the color of the hair was exactly the same as the skin tone. And what we have to do is separate those two values. Hair has its color and skin has its color. Heh, danger. Yeah. So, be creative with color only after you already set the materials right. Yes. So if you get to the point where you've decided, separately what this color is going to be, what this color is going to be, if you have to throw a wash over anything, throw like a wash over his distant leg right over here, like a value or something. Just to make it seem like this leg is in the distance. I mean, you don't have to do that. Also, why is his hand behind her? Did I do that? No, his hand should be in front of her. He's he's in front of her. He seems larger than she is. Unless he's super big. I feel like, but the legs are, that's confusing. I feel like he should be in front of her, his legs should be lower than her, and his fingers should be in front of her dress. You can just throw that distant leg off into some value. But you don't have to do that. It's just an option. I feel like you should. I'm going to lay it in there. Okay. So, all I could get is, okay, to be honest, I've lost in this topic. Silhouette blending into the legs. Who didn't have skills? Liam Neeson, baby? Okay, so who can summarize everything that I changed today with the colors? Let me get the before and after. Before, after. And then we'll go on to the next sentence. I mean, the next sentence. The next piece. The next sentence, like I'm a judge and I'm sentencing off people to death. Yeah, they were like separate character concepts, yeah. Okay, so who can summarize this for me? I'm gonna just merge this down. Beautiful job with the characters. I love the face. The style is so cute. But yeah, same dealio here. It's just this super wash color that's everywhere. Just get rid of it. It doesn't let the colors pop on the character. And if there's a rim light, that rim light isn't restricted to the side of his head. That rim light will, if it's sitting the side right here, it's gonna get on his face. So it's that rim light, that gold sunlight is gonna get on his face just like this. And there's going to be more of it on the sides. And it needs to be brighter. It just doesn't stay this dark. This value over here. It's just dark for a light source. Which is right over here. What we want is up here. So, especially compared to the skin, we want that heightened light source color. And then it tapers off and disappears. So we need that little bit, that extra little bit. We get more of it on the side. Normal. And then we have that cast shadow of the collar. Okay. Desaturated skin tones, took out the yellow film and changed the background color to match the environment. Yes. I even lightened it at the end just so that you can show it. That light source, you should always paint on gray, and then if you have to, throw it back against the white. But don't start with white background because it will change your colors permanently. You brought this saturation down and made the colors feel like actual skin tones. You also made the colors more cohesive. So, in regards to their specific material, colors were limited to their material. You don't depend too much on the wash to meld everything together. And skin tone was a little bit more red. Saturation values, white background. Lose the unnatural lighting, raise the value, and desaturated the colors. I also didn't outline the sides of the face as much as you did. So the nose, all of that. Don't put shadows on either side of the nose. Write that back. Keep shadows away from either side of the nose. So I'm not talking about this one, I'm talking about the one before it. Okay. So for this piece, it just looks like a very handsome star fighter dude. Skin tones look good and limited to their area. I would love to see some brighter lights on the eyes, some shine on the skin, more structure to the nostrils. The edges of the mouth need to be combined with the rest of the face. You have a very pretty face going on, and I think you would benefit from a change in the value, like the sizes and the scale, so his eyes could be really masculine if you shrunk them. So filter, liquefy. If we shrunk the eyes just a little bit more. Density all the way up. It would really bring that masculine out in him and that mystery. He seems like a very angry, serious Zuko kind of character. So those eyes need to be small. And when we do that, if we increase the width of, so if you just make the eyes a little less elongated as well, so you're going for that combination style, that hybrid style. And if we make the mouth just a little bit wider. And the nose just a little bit wider. We'll get less of that girly look and more of that masculine look. So he looked like a girl. And after, he's just getting more of that male look. This also shows that you had way too much shadow, that you were dependent on the eyelids. So the eyes needed to stay big to look pretty. When we shrunk them, we realized there's a lack of form here. There's just all this darkness all moving around the top of the eye. Don't depend on a dark eyelid. It looks like he's just wearing makeup on the top of his eye. Use it only where you need it. This is excessive. And if it was an Asian eye you were going for, then you keep it monolid. But if it wasn't an Asian eye, then we need to see some edge work. So you're missing edge work for the lower eyelid, for the upper eyelid. The face, the eye shape is just completely aspherical. It's not spherical at all. The nose needs to have a fuzziness at the edges of it because it gets further away near the tip. It's just one of those character designs that's very Final Fantasy style. It's supposed to be very pretty and pin-up. But it's a good exercise to keep your mind around what you're doing. I think the skin values are also very orange. They need to be moved towards the pinks just a little bit more. Maybe even the yellows. It's hard to tell with all that because the shadows are pink. Maybe towards the yellows and then we desaturate. And then towards the pinks. No, it's not pinks. It's always so tricky trying to balance the color in here versus the color out here. I think that looks better. So yeah, it was too much pink in the eyes and in the face. And that background color. You also need some shine to the skin. The skin would really benefit from some shine. Like just some shiny bits on the nose or the mouth. And the edges of the mouth here, they're turning into lines instead of gradual radiations. They need to combine with the skin around them. Don't over outline. The nose is also a little bit long, and I think adding that scar made the nose very long. The scar is kind of hiding the fact that the nose is long because it's in there separating this side from this side. But that's it for today. I'll look at the rest of these next time. They all seem to be from very different varieties. Beautiful job here. I think the eyes are just a little bit small for her face. Um, but do you guys have any questions at all? I'm trying to lose my voice. You do shadows on the sides of nostrils? No, not as dark as any, like, they're very light shades. They're just slightly darker than the mid-tone on the sides of nostrils. But I did depend on darks too much. If he has Asian eyes, then, there's even less reason for you to use darks on the upper eyelid. It just looked like mascara. It was reading as that hybrid, super beautiful female anime hybrid instead of male. So to counter that, look up an Asian eye and try to change that into the anime hybrid. Try to source all of your work, even if it's stylized, from some sort of realistic reference anchor. Yeah, that yellow color. I don't know what it is. A lot of students have been using it. They just throw it over everything. I guess not. I'll rewatch that video on noses. Wait, if he's Asian, shouldn't his skin be less pink in tone and more Asian? Just say yellow. Yes, it would. There's not much redness in Asian skin, except in the cheeks. There's a lot of redness in the cheeks. Asian babies are the cutest fucking babies on the planet. Blue is God. What? So thanks everyone for joining today. If you guys are interested in what you see, if you guys like what you see, go to istebrak.com. To follow me, just subscribe on YouTube. I'll upload today's session on YouTube. Google Plus is where you can go to join the community and upload your work so I can critique it. Facebook is where you can ask for your stuff sent back to me. It's just Istebrak Art. It's a group. You can just message me on that. Drop a like if you can as well. I don't know why I want likes. I don't know what likes will do for my life, but just give me a like. I don't know. Let's see what happens. Twitter, if you guys want to stay connected, sometimes I cancel classes, so I announce it on Twitter, and Instagram just to catch my personal sketches. So istebrak.com. Thank you everyone for joining today. You guys are great. I can't wait to see your submissions 2 weeks from now. I will see you guys on Tuesday. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.